throughout our session. And Patricia, whenever you're ready to begin, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen and we'll go ahead and go through it, and feel free to jump in if I need to, if you need to have me slow down or go back or whatever it takes. So we're here to talk about the John C. Maxwell book, The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader. This is the book, and some of you have seen it obviously electronically. Some of you have the hard copy. Some of us old school people like to have a hard copy because we can write in it. You can't write on your Kindle. Well, we want to talk about charisma. Is it a mythical quality? Is it indefinable? Are people born with charisma? Are people drawn to leaders because of their charisma? And I think we certainly see that in today's world. Well, Maxwell defines charisma as the ability to draw people to you. And he has 4 qualities that we're going to talk about to become a person who attracts others to you. And these are the 4 qualities: to love life, put a 10 on everyone's head, give people hope, and share yourself. And as we go through this, and I might ask David to monitor the chat box, who are some leaders that our audience, that our attendees can think of that draw people in? And we'll talk about that as we get a little further down the road on this talk. So, how do you become a person who attracts others? What you might do, they talk about people who love life. And I love this picture because it shows 2 people. So much of our happiness depends on how we choose to look at the world. The happy person on the right, he's looking at the beauty in the world, the mountains and the trees and the horizon, and he's happy, he's smiling. The person on the left is miserable. He's just looking at the rock cutaway, and you can see the misery in his face. Which person do you want to sit next to? We're drawn to the person who celebrates life. We look for the people who smile, and we look for the people who make us smile. Even in our chaotic world today, there's beauty and joy and laughs and jokes. And if you doubt me, just look at the internet and the toilet paper jokes, right? How many toilet paper jokes make you laugh? Because we have to laugh at ourselves. We just have to. So enjoy life. Think about the people around you who enjoy life, who are fun to be with. These are the people who smile when they see you. They show joy and they show celebration about life. How do you put a 10 on every person's head, and what does that even mean? Well, as a leader, the most important part of your job isn't your results. Your job is to inspire your employees' results. Maxwell means that expecting the best of people attracts them to you or to the leader. He calls it putting a 10 on everyone's head. Only seeing the good in people, expecting them to do their best and live up to their potential. It draws them to the leader when the leader expects the best from those people. And I'll just share a story about my husband's experience with that. he talks about a wrestling coach in high school. And the coach would put his arm around my husband's shoulder and say, "Hey, you've wrestled this guy, right? You beat him, right? Go out there and beat him." And it was the confidence this coach had in Clancy that brought him up to wrestle his best or to do his best in that match. Because he says, and this is a quote, "I had to. I couldn't let him down. He knew I could do it." So that story illustrates the message. The coach expected Clancy to do his best, and he lived up to it. He would have followed that coach anywhere because he trusted him and he brought out the best in him. And if you've read the book, you know they talk about a diplomat, politician named Benjamin Disraeli. Well, he was a little before most of our times, certainly before mine, because Opie and I are the same age, all right? But he has this quote in the book, Maxwell puts this quote in the book: "The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own." And what he means is show your followers how to lift themselves up. Show them what good qualities they have. Trust them to carry out those good qualities. Trust them to carry out those results and to serve our humanity with those results. Like I said, you got this. That's what a good leader does. Hey, folks, I trust you. You got this. Next, give people hope. And I'm going to suspect that Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the names that was listed in the chat box as a charismatic leader. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Everything that is done in the world is done by hope." Napoleon Bonaparte called leaders dealers in hope. He knew that hope is the greatest of all possessions. Martin Luther King inspired hope in others when he shared his hope for better lives for all people. Mahatma Gandhi was a champion for the rights of the downtrodden people of India. He gave them hope. Mother Teresa served the downtrodden, the poorest of the poor, and she gave them hope. I don't know if I get this one. Here's another one. We want to create hope for the person. We must give hope, always hope. I did some research on Mother Teresa as I was researching charismatic leaders, and I will share with you that as we progress, I'm going to share a little bit more about her. I found her to be a shining example of a charismatic leader. Finally, share yourself. Leaders who think about others and about others' concerns before thinking of themselves exhibit charisma. They draw people to them. They make people want to follow that leader. And by sharing a bit of yourself, opening a window into your own world is a good place to begin. And another way to say it, a speech should not just be a sharing of information, but a sharing of yourself. So I'm going to talk just a moment about Mother Teresa before I transition on to some of the roadblocks. Mother Teresa was a servant first and a leader second. She put everyone ahead of herself. Yet she was a charismatic leader. She inspired people in the world to help the ones who need help without seeing their status or their race. She was highly esteemed and confident. She had exemplary qualities. She had a strong sense of purpose. Mother Teresa articulated the goals and ideas for which her followers were prepared. She was able to secure her followers unquestioning cognitive and emotional commitment. And she had extraordinary moral inspiration, attraction, and influence over her followers. And furthermore, she was able to move people to act with only simple words. So talking about roadblocks, as we examine ourselves, and each of Maxwell's chapters asks us to look at ourselves and examine our qualities. We want to become more charismatic on our journey to leadership. We look at these roadblocks to charisma, to attracting people to us. Pride, because no one wants to follow someone who thinks they're better than anyone else. Insecurity, because if we're not comfortable with who we are, others will not be comfortable with us as leaders. Moodiness. Moodiness confuses people, so they don't know what to expect from that leader. And so they're not going to expect anything from someone who's a moody, unpredictable leader. And finally, cynicism. The cynic sees a cloud in every silver lining, and no one is going to follow the cynic, because cynicism actually pushes people away. And let's not forget, I skipped perfectionism. I'm not perfect. I admit it here right now. People respect the desire for excellence, certainly, but they dread unrealistic expectations. And David has a poll. Which of these roadblocks to charisma apply to you? And we'll wait a couple minutes because there's a couple things that we need to examine ourselves. We need to know who we are and how and how to improve ourselves. Many of us are insecure. We're insecure speaking in large groups. That's a hard one. That's a difficulty. You only improve it by watching people. To me, I watch people I admire, and I try to be more like them. I try to share my passion. I'm kind of an introverted person, so it's hard for me to share myself. And certainly we all know that. So David, you want to share those results real quickly? Has everybody done polling? Almost everybody has.
Yeah, we've got about 66% of people that have taken the poll. We do have some people calling in today, so
right.
If you're on audio only, so I'll go ahead and end that. Looks like the winner of our poll here is perfectionism. 63% of folks identifying that as their challenge. I've just shared the results. I think people will be able to see that now. Moodiness, cynicism, insecurity is number 2. I think surprisingly, pride is way down the list. I might have marked that as number 1 for me. That shows up in a lot of surprising areas, and it's I think it can be a regular thing to battle against.
And I understand, because, you know, in some ways, when you share yourself, people might perceive that as being prideful. So it's something we have to be careful of. And it's something that we need to examine ourselves for, so that we're not, you know, maybe the person we look in the mirror at isn't really what other people see. So we have to examine that, maybe ask our friends. So you're good with that, right? Can you just...
Yeah, that's disappeared, I think, hasn't it?
I have to close it on mine. There we go. And let's see if I locked up a little bit. There we go. So let's finally talk about working on qualities in order to be that, to have charisma and to attract folks to us, or the qualities that a leader needs to work on. One is change your focus. Listen to how you interact with others. One of the leadership qualities that Mother Teresa exhibited was that she listened respectfully to what others have to say. She accepted them and often empathized, I hope I spoke that right, with them. What does the first impression game mean? Well, if you've gone through different training opportunities, the first impression game is the next time you meet someone for the first time, learn their name. Make an effort to learn their name. Ask them about themselves. Be positive. Treat them as if you expect them to be the best at what they do. If you can do this once, you can always do it. And remember, it's not always about the person who can do something for you. You might meet someone at some point in your life, and years later, you might find a way to collaborate with that person that you didn't foresee working or collaborating with at that point in your life. So make sure that you learn about them and be positive about them and leave a positive impression on them. That's what this means. So finally, share yourself. Share resources with others. Try to add value to people's lives this year. You don't need to put a number on it, but try to add value to people's lives one way or another. Help others grow personally and professionally. And most of all, let people know who you are by sharing your experiences. So finally, make it your agenda to focus on others, not yourself. It was said by Mother Teresa that servant leadership begins with the desire to change oneself. And I'm going to, before I go on to what John F. Kennedy, who I was sure also was listed as one of the charismatic leaders, every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. And I think I can end it there, David. If you want, I'll stop sharing my screen somehow. There we go. And you can open it up. We can open it up for reactions and chat and whatever else needs to be happening.
Well, you've had a lot of conversation going on in chat, some excellent points that have been made, and we can retrace through some of those if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll get to the others too, but one of the quotes I just shared, which kind of I came across yesterday, it tied Monday's topic with today, was charisma without character is Postponed Calamity by Peter Adsafe, I think is how you pronounce his last name. And because that's been some of the discussion in the chatter is, you shared some very positive examples, but there are some, there are some negative examples of charismatic leaders as well.
There's one slide I saw where it said, name the most charismatic leaders who were the most destructive, and it named Mao, Stalin, and Hitler. So we do have to be careful about who we follow and why we follow them.
Yes. We'll throw a poll up here for some interaction. And while we read through some of these, but there's quite a bit of discussion about some of those negative examples. The roadblocks is a great list. And Meredith Berry adds in a comment to Richard, not everyone with charisma uses their power for good. Jim Jones, for example, seems those with charisma are very passionate about something, and they can convince others to care about their passion. Stormy adds that sometimes from a psychological standpoint, charisma is the number one characteristic of a cult leader. Craig asks, this might be a question for you, Patricia, are people with great charisma inadvertently pushed into leadership roles? Having charisma but lacking the necessary skills or character to lead effectively is not effective. So you think just because someone has charisma, they sometimes get pushed into those leadership roles.
And we see that in our world all the time, because charisma can be created. It can be used to manipulate the public, depending on your point of view and your politics. So it is something that people have to be very, very careful about. The TED Talk, David, that you printed
Yes.
in your newsletter was
Yes.
very, very effective, because he showed a series of pictures of individuals who were running for office and asked people who knew nothing about them to choose which one would win. And invariably, the better looking one with the more symmetrical facial structure was the one who won the elections. It didn't have anything to do with their qualities, with their stance, with anything else other than how they looked. And those people, the people who did the poll just based on the facial structure, chose the winners of those elections. It was an amazing piece of psychology and information, wasn't it?
I think some of his examples, he showed that children were just as good at picking the winner as adults were.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, Cynthia just made that comment in chatter. So yeah, that aspect of it is a little disconcerting, to say the least.
It's true. It's true. Well, any other comments? We're getting close, I think, to our half hour.
Well,
Be respectful of people. Any other thoughts on that, folks, that you want to share?
As we wrap up, where comments are welcome, of course, and chat as well. And just out of curiosity, I just threw up another poll here for interaction. Charisma can be powerful if you have it. Do you think you have it? Do you have charisma? The options are: I have charisma to spare, or I have charisma, I do not have charisma, or I thought charisma was a spice.
And I thought charisma was a fragrance.
Was that a Seinfeld episode? I know the beach was a fragrance in Seinfeld.
I think it is.
Well, one comment I So I'll add this, and then Patricia, you can wrap up, of course. I saw this yesterday. The secret to charisma: become more concerned about making others feel good about themselves than you are about making them feel good about you. Thought that was a great secret to success, a secret to having charisma, and how that plays out in our interactions with others. We'll end the polling here, and we'll share results. And Patricia, we'll leave it in your hands to wrap up today.
Well, I just thank everybody for listening to me today, and I put the picture up that I thought showed that I had the most charisma, because people were just gathered around me at a respectful distance, 6 foot, and it's where I'd like to be if we were giving this program. But I want to thank my leadership Miller County folks for participating. I know we kind of got the short end of our class, but we're working on it. We will get back together. I promise that. And thanks again for everyone for attending and listening today. I certainly appreciate it.
Be watching your email for a recording link to today, as well as details for our next topic on Friday, which is commitment. I think I'm the instructor on commitment. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe and stay well.